Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Kareen and I'm the Offcut Crafter. Today we're going to be making a box seat cushion with a zip inserted underneath. It's going to look something like this, and as you can see the zip runs through the middle at the bottom of it. Okay, you're going to need a few items to get started. First will be your fabric that you've chosen to make the seat cushion out of. You will also need your zip to run through the middle. You'll need your measuring tape, your needles or clips, and you'll also need a ruler and either chalk or a fabric pen, whichever you prefer. Don't forget your scissors as well, and you'll need your foam cut to size. We've gone for the blue foam, which is really dense, really sturdy, and long wearing. Okay, so welcome back. We've jumped into cutting a piece of the fabric out, ready to go and make this box cushion. I did it a little wrong at first, and I followed another YouTube channel, so shout out to them, link in bio. And I've cut this one a little bit too small to insert the zip into the way that we want it. So what you need to do is you need to trace the outline of the foam and then take off 1/4 of an inch off the measurement before we sew it in. But before we do that, you actually do need to add another length into it before you do, which is the length of the zip. So we need to recut the fabric and add the 2.5 centimeters that the zip length is into that measurement as well, so that when we put the zip through the middle, it's still the same dimensions of the foam that we need it to be. And we're just going to trace the blue foam piece. So we're going to just get rid of this a minute, and I just need some room. It's a very tight space here. I don't have a massive studio. Okay. Again, make sure your fabric's running in the direction that you want it to go on your cushion, because you don't want to cut it the wrong way. We're going to have the zigzags going lengthways across the cushion seating, so we need to cut it this way. Okay. So all you're going to do is place the wrong side facing you, right side down, and we're just going to place the foam on top of the fabric. Try and line it up. Obviously this is a patterned fabric, and not just a single block colour, so you do need to take some care when cutting this out. Because we're doing the bottom piece with the zip, what we need to do is make sure that when we're tracing it, we have left enough room for the pattern to look decent on there. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to take our chalk and we're just going to trace around the foam. Very simple, really easy. So we'll do that and we'll come back with this traced and we'll go over the next bit. Okay, so I'm just going to mark out the 1/4 inch inseam there. So the reason why we're going to take 1/4 inch off this back piece, which works out 1/2 inch off both sides, is because when we put the seat cushion on, you're not going to see the the seams there running along the side of the box cushion, and it's just going to have that nice flush look to it. Okay, and just join these up. Okay, what you're going to need to do after this is get your scissors or your rotary cutter, whichever one you're more confident at using, and we're going to cut away that measurement there. But before we do this, remember I spoke about the zip. We need to add on the zip measurement onto one side. So from the inside 1/4 inch taken off, we're going to just measure that length there of the zip on both sides, and we're going to cut that. Okay. If we don't put that zip in, again, like I said, this zip measurement in, it will turn out again too short, so your corners won't meet when you come to do the other piece of the cushioning. So it's always best if you, when using a rotary cutter, you do exactly like I'm doing here and have the ruler on the inside of where you don't want to cut, because otherwise if you go off like I've just done there, you're not going into your fabric and having to recut a new piece. So it's always best to do that. So we're going to just cut the whole piece out on the inside. Take your time, there's no rush. Again, like I said, this could take half an hour, but it could take 2 hours. Just depends on how confident you are at using your tools. Okay. Okay, I'm going to use the scissors for this last bit, because that I don't want to cut into the fabric that I need. So I'm just going to cut along this line. I like to use the scissors that have a slightly serrated edge. That will mean that your fabric won't fray as you cut it. Okay, just one last cut. Cut down the side here. Okay, all done. So we've got your bottom piece cut out and we're ready to insert the zip. We're just going to make a few notches before we do that. So you want to fold this in half, and we're going to just make the notches there on the inside. So if you fold it in half this way, and using your fabric pen, I like to use my fabric pen because I can just get a clearer notch there. You just want to give that a little mark on the inside, on the length, and then we're going to fold it lengthways again, and we're going to do a notch in the middle. This is really going to help us insert that zip central to the piece. Okay, so I'll put the notches in, and you'll have your notches on the marked on the inside like that. What you're going to do now is you're going to fold this in half, right sides together this time, and you're going to match up those notches that we've just made. And if you want, you can press this just so you have a crisper line so you can see. I'm not going to get the iron out right now, so I'm just going to run my hand over that a few times just to get that crease in there. And then you're going to want to put some pins down the raw edge of this here. That's just going to hold the piece in place, so when it goes through the sewing machine, it's not going to shift, because that means that we won't be able to open up the zip once we've done that. Okay, so we're going to take this over to the sewing machine now, and we're going to sew a very loose basting stitch down the side where it's folded over. Okay, so the basting stitch that we're going to put down, the measurement that you need is going to be half the length of your zip, half the width of your zip, sorry. So what you're going to need to do is measure your zip. This one I've already measured, that measures at 3.2 centimeters. So we're going to half that measurement, and it's going to be 1.6, and we're going to measure 1.6 on your fabric, and again make a little note on that, and then we're going to sew at that measurement all the way down the length there. Okay, we're back from the machine, and we've sewn a basting stitch down the side here at 1.6 centimeters. So what we're going to do now is we're going to split this with the scissors, and we're going to just cut all the way up the edge there, like so. And this is where the zip's going to sit. What this does is it's going to mean that we don't have to hem the zip, or it's already just going to be there for us, ready to look pretty when we open the zip. Okay, so you're just going to fold this out. Oh, unpin it first, because they don't need to be in anymore. It's a lot easier if you do use clips than pins, but we'll take those out, and then we're just going to open this back up, and what we'll have is the sheet in place, and we'll have this lovely fold down the middle now where we're going to put the zip in place. What we're going to do now is we're going to pin the zip to this, and we're going to sew the zip in using your zipper foot. Okay, so you get your zip, and you're just going to match those seams there, making sure that the center of the zip matches the center of your fabric. Okay, and again, just pin that in place. If you want to be more conscious so the zip doesn't move out of place, you can pin it all the way down. I'm just going to do 2 starting pins on either side, and then a couple as we go along. That's just really going to hold that zip in place. Don't worry about the excess zip on the end, you can cut that off later. Okay, just make sure that this is pulled tight and it doesn't move. Okay, so again, you could iron this if you have your iron set up, but I'll just pin it like so. It doesn't have to be the neatest. Again, these are just holding pins. Okay, and then just make sure that zip again lines up with the middle of the fabric, and pin in place again. Okay, what we're going to do now then is we're going to sew the zip in place. You're going to sew down either side of the zip, and then you're going to sew across as well to hold that. And don't forget that you also need to put your zipper, if you've got an open-ended zip like this, we will be putting a zipper in so that we can open it. Okay, we're back from the sewing machine and our zip is now inserted. As you can see, it's got this nice cover over it, so when that is placed underneath, it's not gonna rub there, and it also covers up the zip more now. So as you can see, you can unzip that and you should have an opening now. That's going to help us later on as well when we turn the fabric right side out when we put it all together. Okay, so we're going to go through doing the next piece, which is making the other side of the box cushion and sewing that all together. So we're going to do all the measurements and I'll show you how to cut the foam fabric to size for the next piece. Okay, so we're back at the table and we have placed the fabric down underneath the foam because again, we're going to trace around the foam piece. But this time, when you place your foam, you've got to make sure that you've got enough material at the edge so that you can fold that over there for the depth of the foam. So make sure you've got enough on both sides to fold that over. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to trace. First, before we trace, we're going to measure the depth. So as you can see here, mine is 1.2 inches. So I need to make sure that I've got 1.2 inches of fabric available once I trace around the foam. Okay, so we'll do this. The best trick here when tracing your foam is try not to push too hard against the foam, because then the foam will shift in and you will be out of line with your trace. Okay, so just trace all the edges there. Make sure you're actually on the table so you can get that nice straight edge. Okay. Again, I prefer to use chalk. You can use a pen or a marking pencil. Once you've got all your edges traced, what we're going to do is we're going to add on that depth onto the side, and then I'll show you how we're going to do the box corners. Okay, so we're just going to remove the foam. We don't need this for now, and we're going to add the 1.2 inches onto each side of the fabric there. So just measure that out. 1.2 on each side and draw your boxes in. Okay. Why I love these measuring squares is because you have the measurements on both sides. So when you're measuring a line, if you make sure that your measurements equal on both sides, you'll know you're going to measure that straight. Okay, so what we need to do is you need to make sure that these are straight on both sides, and then just join those markings up all together. You're going to get the big ruler out. If you've got a metre rule, then great. If not, get your trusty old stick. That's long enough. Especially if you're doing something that is over a metre, just use a spare piece of wood that might be lying around to get that, so you can just make that straight edge there. So we're just going to mark that out. So again, we're just marking out this depth that we're going to need. That's going to curve over this side of your box cushion, and that's going to hide the sewing edges there when you come to sew it all together. Okay, I'll just get this done. And I'm just going to use the smaller side to do these edges here on this end. I know you can't see that. Pull this over. Okay, just going to meet that up there. Just make sure that's 1.2. We don't want to go out on this. There we go. Okay. What you want to do now is you want to extend the inside line that you already drew previous before we put the depth on, and you're just going to mark up into the corners. Just go over the fabric there, like that. So we'll do that on all 4 sides. We're just going to mark up and over, because this square we're going to cut out shortly. Okay. Okay. And do this last corner. Okay. Once you've done that, again, you're going to want to get your rotary blade or your scissors, and you're going to cut out the outside lines that you've just drawn. So we'll start with this side, and we'll just cut outside this line here. I like to do this one because we can trim off the excess fabric that's not needed, that's weighing it down, and we just got more room to work. If you've got fabric weights, you can use fabric weights. Again, we've already accounted for our seam allowance here. We're going to be using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance when we sew it all together. So don't worry about it not being perfect when you cut it. Okay. And if you're like me, who's a bit of a hodgepodge chef in the kitchen, who just likes to throw things in, then I'm a bit like that when it comes to sewing as well. I'm not really one for 100% measuring everything accurate, because it'll sew together all right. Okay. And it's always about the finished look, and it will still have that professional look. If you've got an overlocker, or Americans call it a serger, if you have one of those, then you can always tidy up these edges. You're not going to see them anyway. Okay. Now that when you've cut this to shape, what we're going to do now is these over squares where we marked over the edges, we're just going to cut that square out, and that's going to form our box corner. Okay, so get rid of the fabric you don't need. Put that, and this is the fabric we're going to be working on. Okay, so we're just going to cut off these boxed edges. Big scissors. Okay, so once they're all cut then, what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to the sewing machine and we're just going to sew these boxed edges. Again, the way that you're going to want to do this is you want right sides facing together and you want to fold them so they meet each other there together like that. And what you want to do is you can put a pin in them so that the fabric doesn't shift. And you're going to do that for all 4 edges. And then we're going to sew a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance down the side there. Don't worry, it will cut into the box corner here, but we want that to happen. So meet me at the sewing machine. We're going to get all these 4 corners done. Splice Original. Okay, so we're back and we've now sewn all 4 corners of the top piece of the fabric. What we're going to do is just a quick test fit to make sure that that fits on the foam. So all you have to do is you can do it right side out or inside out, which way your fabric is at the time. So as you can see, the measurements all work and it's looking good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just attach the bottom piece here that we sewn earlier. Okay, so the way that we're going to do that is, again, right sides together. We're just going to pin everything into place. We definitely want to pin this because if the fabric shifts at any point, it will mean you have to unpick and re-sew. So let me just grab the top piece that we sewn earlier. There we go. Okay, and like I said, we're going to sew that right sides together. Oh, I noticed that we've got a bit of zip left over, so we'll just sorry, just interrupted by Alexa. We're just gonna chop this little bit of zip off there that we don't need. Okay. So again, right sides facing together. What you want to start with is the corner pieces. I find it's just a little bit easier, and we're just going to clip those into place. I'm just going to grab some clips. You're going to need quite a few, so don't worry about running out because you can just spread them out as well. So we're just going to clip one of the corners to start, and we're going to measure that across just to make sure that that fits inside the box there. And then what you want to do there is if you've still got the center notch that you made earlier, you can just mark them up. We're going to just make sure that's flush and that they meet, and then just clip those into place. Once you've clipped all of the edges, you're going to run that through the sewing machine again with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And once you've done all 4 sides, it's totally your choice if you want to run over the sides with the overlocker. I like to run it over with the overlocker just so we really get those crisp, neat edges there and we don't have any fraying edges. Okay. Once that's done, your box will be complete. So we'll finish this off. You can meet me over at the sewing machine where we'll sew all of these corners into place and finish this project. Okay, we're back and we have finished all the seams. So I have overlocked the seams, as you can see here, and what we're going to do is just put it onto the piece of foam. So we're going to undo this zip and turn it right side out. Remember to get your corners, just give them a good poke. If they aren't turning out or a nice shape, again, you can always cut the inside edge there, and that will make them look a little bit better. So once you've poked all the edges through, what we're going to do is we're going to just insert the foam into this. Okay, so as you would, it might be a little bit of a struggle because it is going to be tighter than the foam, but again, the foam's going to work around the fabric basically. So make sure you're just pushing all those edges. You've got a chance to really neaten it up as you get it in. So don't worry too much about, you know, thinking about, oh, it's not going to fit in, we've measured it wrong. It will fit. Okay, let's get these bits in here. Ooh. There we go. And then what we can do is we can flatten that inside, and we can just play about with the shifting of the fabric. So we want these seam lines to sit on the underneath of the seat cushion. And then once you feel like you can't really shift it around anymore, just get that zipped up. So there we go. And let's zip that up. And look at that. Lovely. So again, just make sure that's all sat in dead nicely and it sits in. Just give it some wiggle room. And there you have it. That'll fold into place. And there's your seat cushion. All done. Lovely. Okay, thanks for joining us today. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell so you get a notification when I post new content.